it kicks off. Right now, we're work in progress, yes? We're rebuilding from the ground up. Rebuilding from the ground up. The videos after we relaunch are not going to look like this. Because you're rebuilding. See that?
Absolutely.
Rebuilding the exposed pipe because you're rebuilding from the ground up.
Right.
And then the videos after that, polished, better backdrop. Like you were talking about, give us a good backdrop. Hell yes. But until then, how's that sound? I might be born to do this shit. I might have just found my new calling in life. You recording this?
Yeah.
Save this for posterity's sake. One day I'll be rich and make all y'all famous with it.
Yes, sir.
When did we start talking about this? Didn't you message me on Facebook and we started talking about this? How did this start? I don't even remember now. How long has it been? 2 months? 3 months?
At least 3 months.
Because it's November. October?
Early September.
Was it really? Holy cow.
Because I think I decided mid-August.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my wife was out riding a bike one day, and me and her we were stopped at like one of them look-offs on the Parkway or something.
Right.
And I asked her, "How do you feel about relaunching HVW?"
What did she say though?
I think she supports me wanting to seek the dream, chase the dream, but she's like me. She hates the drama of the wrestling business.
Too much of it.
Too much drama. I can't stand it.
You know what kills me is it should. How many times have we said this on the phone just the past few days? If this whole thing started out as fun, fans want it to be fun, and the talent wants it to be fun. I think. But there's there's drama, politics, backstage nonsense. It's crazy, and we just want to have fun. I mean, everybody wants to get paid. Obviously, you want to make a name for yourself. We all do, right?
Right.
But man, when you stop having fun, it stops being worth it. Is that what happened the first time around? Stop having fun.
I'm the first one to say that. For me, I made it a competition. You know, I took the big picture out of it when I had it set in my mind that I was going to be bigger and better than everybody. And that was the wrong thing to do. What I should have had in my mind was, how can I work with everybody and we all become bigger? That's what indie wrestling's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Promoters need to work together, man. Imagine if you took, for instance, Western North Carolina, 4 promotions, and we all came together as one. You know, if you think about back in the days when me and you grew up watching wrestling, you had NWA Mid-Atlantic, NWA Smoky Mountain, NWA Georgia Championship.
Yep.
Why can't we do that today? Why can't we have a sanctioning body with High Velocity or so-and-so or so-and-so? We have one champ that's traveling the circuit. We have a set of tag champs that are traveling the circuit. Maybe even a ladies champ that's traveling the circuit. But then each promotion has their own champs. Man, we could build the indie wrestling scene bigger. No, I'm not even going to say indie. We could build the professional wrestling scene bigger and better than Western North Carolina's ever seen it.
And you said indie, and there's a stigma attached to the word indie. And I don't know why it has to be that way, because I guess outside of the big companies, everybody considers everything else independent. But do you refer to New Japan as indie? Of course not. They're a big company. But the big dogs would refer to them as independent. So I think independent's a huge category that guys on our level have taken and either misused or maybe misunderstood and maybe adapted it to mean the wrong thing, and now it's got a negative connotation to it.
Well, it's the perception that you give to fans.
Yeah.
Look at it like this, and I'm not knocking anybody, okay? You may go into a local National Guard armory anywhere across the United States and see a great wrestling show.
Right.
But if the guy opens a door and walks through a curtain, no lights, nothing special about the presentation of the show, how can you call that pro wrestling? when you walk into a WWE show or a AEW show or a New Japan show, even a Ring of Honor show.
Mm-hmm.
They have a nice production, a presentation to the way they deliver the show.
Right.
That's what sets you apart. That's what makes that, for me, that's what defines indie and professional.
Just a matter of separating the two.
You know, imagine back in the day at the UWA where me and you met each other many moons ago
Long
in
time
Lenore,
ago.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
The locker room was full of guys that are still out there.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
Thomas Extreme.
Yeah.
You know, myself. A lot of guys have moved on, but man, we were packing that Legion Hall. 250 plus 300 people every Saturday night.
Yeah.
Imagine what it could have been if we had lights, cameras, you know, a production. Think about when Thomas Extreme come in and built the first set UWA had. Look how our crowd grew.
Yeah.
Look how the guys started looking at it different. They started taking more pride in the way they looked, the way they showed up to a show.
Yeah.
You know, if you get out of your car, biggest beef in the world for me, you know the doors open at 7 o'clock.
Right.
You roll up to the venue at 7:15. There's fans standing outside. You get out of your car in a ripped up t-shirt and a pair of gym shorts, rolling your bag behind you. I hate that.
It ruins it for fans. Okay, you know, speaking as a fan, because I'm still a fan, I've been writing about this. I've been a fan since I could walk. Before, I have memories of being 2 years old and going to see pro wrestling with my dad, who was killed at a very young age. The first memory I have on this planet is going to see a pro wrestling show with Wahoo and Ric Flair. Because I remember the robe and I remember the headdress. I'll never forget that. 2 years old, and I vividly remember being held by my dad and seeing that, and it never left me. But like you said, going back to those days, man, like we wanted stars. The stars captivated us. As the average fan today, yeah, they want pro wrestlers to be relatable, like Stone Cold, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. It's awesome to think I could be like this guy one day. But I think they want stars as well. They want to look at pro wrestlers as being, I gotta have your autograph. It's important that I meet you. This means something. And I think maybe, have we forgotten that as a community? Have we forgotten how that feels and what that should be?
I don't think the fans have forgotten it. I think the wrestlers don't get it. Every person that's ever went through the High Velocity Academy of Pro Wrestling School, I try to teach them this mentality.
So UWA was in Lenore. I was born and raised in Lenore. It was a small town, right? And we had pro wrestling through there before when I was growing up, but it was the NWA because they used to visit the small towns. They came to the high school gym where I went to high school. And I'll never forget that it was Nikita when he had hair, because it was Ron Simmons was there, Sting was there. I remember Sting in the ring acting like he was shooting a ball into the basketball net. When Ron Simmons gets done with his match, he walks up the bleachers with his gym bag, arms bigger than your head. I'm like, oh my God, it's Ron Simmons. Walks by, says, hey Ron, how's it going? That big, deep, like could crush your head like that, like nothing. And they were superheroes, man. I grew up a comic book guy, right? Superheroes to me. Like, so what got you into it? We talked before about how we met. We were in UWA, of course. And you were tag teaming and looked like a rock star. And I told you from day one, it looked like I had never seen really anybody that looked like you before, to be honest. I never really had. I mean, pro wrestlers were clean cut. Unless they were heels, they could be a little dirty and whatnot. But, like, in my opinion, you look different than anybody I'd seen in a while. And you were like more of like you just was a lead singer of a rock band, just stepped into a wrestling ring.
Well, that's exactly what it was. Because before I started training to wrestle, I had fronted bands for years.
Right.
You know, I was the head of security at Rodeo's Rock Bar in Hickory.
Yeah.
You know, I was singing for a band called Dead Speed. It was like the third or fourth band I'd been with.
Right.
You know, living the rock star lifestyle. I lived beside the National Guard Armory in Newton, North Carolina. And I seen a sign out there one night that said pro wrestling. I didn't have nothing to do, so I went down to watch the show, and it was horrible. You know, the ring announcer was holding like a little gorilla guitar amp in his hand with a mic plugged into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, the wrestlers weren't bad. You know, I thought I could do this. So I talked to Johnny Rage. in the parking lot that night. And he said, he introduced me to Roger Knight. I started training and loved it, had fun. It actually got me booted out of my band because I started putting wrestling before the band.
Wow.
And we had a lot of fun back in those days.
Yes,
man.
we did.
A lot of fun.
I remember us going to, and this was years before HVW ever became a thing. And you may not remember this. We would go to Shoney's after the show. Sometimes it was a few of us.
Absolutely.
But it was usually at least 2 or 3 of us. And it was just you and me one night after a show, Shoney's in Lenore on a Saturday night. And we're eating breakfast, of course, right? And I remember you kept saying, I just want to be the best I can be, and I want to get out there and I want to make a living of this. I want to do something. This is 20 years ago. And I'm like, you were saying things that not a lot of guys with us were saying. Not that they weren't committed, they were. But I didn't hear that enthusiasm like I had from you. And you were, I don't want to use the word grieving over it, but you were very concerned about this is fun, but I want to do something more than this. So I saw in you from day one. So, all right. So how do you get from UWA, go to work for J Eagle? At what point did you say, I think I want to do this on my own? When did that start?
Well, I never had that intention. I was one of the headliners at APW in Spartanburg. Well, I started off in Chesney, moved over to Spartanburg, became the HVW champ. The APW champ.
Right.
It got to the point where when I walked in the building, the fans were chanting EOD, EOD, or Viper, or whatever.
Right.
Eagle approached me and said, "Hey, buddy, I got a couple kids that want to train. I thought you'd be good for them." I didn't even have a ring to train them in. There was another guy on the scene, Johnny Dangerously, had a ring in his yard. So we started training there at his house. I was training Loaded Guns, Ken Magnum, Satisfaction Adam Jackson, and a guy that wrestled by the name of David Duke. My wife bought me a ring from Rob Keller. We set that thing up at my house. Then before you knew it, I had Ken, David, Adam Jackson, Devin Destruction, Mario Hogg was training to be a manager, and my son Aaron and Mario's son Dylan Dollar. I was training them at the same time on a trampoline, showing them, because they were 10. I didn't want them taking bumps in a ring,
No.
so I taught them to bump on a wrestling ring. On a trampoline. So wintertime hit. My wife, we actually trained a little bit through the winter. Went out there and took a push broom and pushed the snow off the ring. I told my wife, I got to get this ring out of the weather. So we rented this shack. Brother, it was a shack. Just an old metal tin building off of Spartanburg Highway. Just the training. When they got to the point to where we could only do so much in training, I needed to start teaching them how to react in front of a crowd. How to respond to a crowd, how to work the crowd, how to cut a promo. You can only do it to bare walls for so long. So I said, shoot, man, let's just invite our families. Invite your mom, invite some friends. We'll get a few people in here just to give you an opportunity. We'll wrestle in front of a few people. I didn't even have chairs. I went to a local rental place and rented 25 chairs. Put up a few little posters along Spartanburg Highway there. We drew like 18 people. But it paid the rent on the building. So I thought, shoot, I keep doing this. I can at least pay the rent on the building every month. So we started doing it every other Friday night. Because I was going to APW on Saturdays. Before you knew it, man, I was renting 50 chairs. And you couldn't have put no more than that in there. I think you even came to that building once or twice.
I did.
It was just packed full. I done cut 3 of the roofing joists out. The building was very dangerous. But we got to the point where people were standing in Wendy's parking lot watching in.
Right.
So, I thought, man, maybe I can do this. Then the fire marshal came one night, and that was all done and over with.
Yeah.
I never really pursued or never decided I'm going to move to another building. I just happened to stumble across a building, and it fell into my place, into my lap, and I thought, man, maybe it is meant for me to do this. So that's how it started.
So what was the vision the first time around? Did you even have a vision, or was it just, I'm going to throw a ring up in a building and we're going to, at what point did you decide, I think I could do something different than what everybody else is doing. What did you think you could offer fans that they couldn't get anywhere else?
Professionalism on the indie wrestling circuit that you don't see.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I've always harped about this, but if I walk into a 5-star restaurant with a pair of blue jean shorts and a tank top on, am I going to stand out? Obviously I am. Obviously I am. It's the same thing in the wrestling business. You know, if you go to WWE and watch their show, and then go to the National Guard Army and watch that show, that's going to stand out, right? The WWE is obviously going to stand out. Why can't I bring that production, that presentation to the National Guard Army level show?
Right.
And I guess I thought different than most people. I took wrestlers that nobody would give a chance, helped them develop a gimmick, helped them develop a character, and built a show around those guys where we was averaging, 125, 150 people in our second building, and the fire marshal only allowed me 175.
Wow.
And we was almost filling that up every week with guys that nobody knew, that I trained, taught myself. With the exception of a few that I bring in from APW or other feds, but we gained a lot of attention off of doing.
And those guys are still working today.
A lot of them are,
Yeah.
A lot of them are.
So what about the connection to the fans? Because I'm curious about that. Because we're talking about UWA. We were packing the place out, and then at the end it was pitiful. We couldn't draw a dime. What's the old saying? You couldn't draw a fly if you were dipped in crap, right? Isn't that what they say? So what was it about the fans' connection to HVW? What was it that you saw that they saw in you? I mean, how did that start forming? Like, how early on in the process was it? Or was it something you really tried to cultivate as time went on?
I think once we moved into that second building, the little strip mall, I think the fans knew we had something different. The wrestling fans that Dale Stepp had ran wrestling for years in Hendersonville at the National Guard Army. A lot of fans that came to HVW used to go there. It was different. We brought something different. Yeah, I didn't have big muscled up wrestlers, but our presentation was different. We done things for the fans. We asked the fans, what do you guys want to see? Do you like this? Do you not like this? I think we made them feel a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We wanted the fans to feel like, hey, this is our wrestling company.
Yeah.
They do this for us.
It's the same way. It's the same reason ECWs were successful.
Absolutely.
Because they felt like it was their hometown promotion.
Right.
That actually made it big. So, I mean, the precedence is there. It's been set. So it's not like you can't achieve that. So you ran HVW for how long? 15 years?
We did. The little shack, we ran it for about a year and a half. Took me several months to move into the other building. We ran there every Saturday night for 5 years. Then we moved into the Salvation Army building over on Asheville Highway. We ran every Saturday night there for 6 years. Then the Army sold that property. We went on the road. We did the Kick 'em in the Face tour for 14 months, and then planned the Extravaganza show and toured for a year to promote that show. So yeah, about 12, 13, 14 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm. The few times that I got to come up to Hendersonville to work for you, and I hadn't seen you in a while, and you're like, come up do commentary, and I was honored to do it, to be honest with you. But the one thing that stood out about your locker room was that it didn't feel like any drama. It didn't feel like anybody was out to get anybody. And maybe I didn't see it, but it never felt like that to me. Everybody was very friendly to me and very accepting and warm and made you feel like part of the family. And I have nothing negative to say about anybody you ever had, because I never had any negative interactions with any of them, because it felt like a different environment. Like I said, maybe I didn't see it or wasn't privy to it, but
I'm not going to say we've never had no inner locker room drama, because we did. There were guys that, and I'm going to take all the blame for it. There were guys that I took a little better care of than others.
Right.
And the guys that I wasn't taking as good a care of maybe felt like they should have been, that they had done more for me. They had been more loyal to me. man, I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I guess I let my ego get in the way sometimes.
You've told me before, one-on-one in confidence, that you were, you know, a lot of regrets, especially about the last show. We talked about that. Any fans out there that remember the last show may not even realize what happened, may not even know what happened. So, you know, that's been weighing on you the whole time, right? It was been 5 years since HVW ran last?
5 years.
I mean, it's weighed on you every day, right? I mean, has it always been in the back of your head?
You know, there's a lot of times, man, since Extravaganza 2014, that I just wished I had a do-over. Because there's so many things I would do different. I've really let my pride and my ego get the best of me.
Right.
There's a lot of times I don't listen to my wife when I should have listened to her this time.
Yeah.
I had a vision, man. I really did. When Chandler passed away, it really made a big impact on my family. And a great friend of mine, Chuck Winchester, put a show together in honor of my son at the Salvation Army.
Right.
And the gym was packed, and guys came out of nowhere to support that show. I didn't have anything to do with it except it was my ring and stuff. Chuck booked the whole show, put the whole thing together, man, and guys that I hadn't seen in years showed up to work that show. And we made enough money off of that show. Chuck made enough money off of that show to pay Chandler's funeral expenses.
That's awesome, man. I never knew that.
And then people got on the internet. Oh, well, let me throw this out there. After that happened, or before Chandler passed, my father-in-law had just helped my wife get a brand new van. And we sent that thing off and had one of those really high-end wheelchair lifts put on it. So Chandler could stay in his wheelchair and be strapped to the floor of the van.
Right.
And we didn't have to lift him in and out of his wheelchair.
Right.
Dude, he rode in it 4 times before he passed away. So the van was brand hammer new. It had less than 5,000 miles on it.
Right.
My wife says, Gary, I can't drive this van.
Right, of course.
So I took that van and traded it even for the Camaro that she drives today. And it just happened to be right after Chuck did that show for us.
Oh, I see.
So all the haters started talking their crap. He used his dead son to make money. You know, and that hurt. It put so much hate, and so it drove me to prove them wrong. And I was dead set on starting this foundation, the Jackie Chandler Prater Foundation, and nothing was going to get in my way. But it wasn't meant to happen, man. I for whatever reason, at that time, that wasn't what God had planned for my life, and I truly believe that. I spent 365 days promoting this show. I did everything I knew how to do. We did car shows that failed. I tried to sponsor a softball tournament that nobody signed up for. You know, it was just one event after another, and everything we tried to do failed. And I've had a lot of time to reflect on it. About 4 weeks before the show, I had a $5,000 sponsor back out. Everybody said, Gary, you got to cancel the show. I said, I can't. I've got plane tickets already paid for. I've got hotel rooms booked that's paid for. We can't just cancel the show.
So how much of this are the logistics of the situation, like you just said, and how much it was the ego kicking in and saying, no, I got to prove everybody wrong?
It was all the ego.
Combination.
It was all the ego, man.
Yeah.
And Tom, I'm going to say something to you that I've never really told anybody. That night, I was going in that show, the payroll was $16,000. I had half of it covered.
Yeah.
I thought, surely I could make $8,000 with the ticket prices, the crowd we're going to draw, because I really thought after 365 days of a different town every Saturday night, radio commercials, TV commercials, Facebook post. I mean, I stuck it in your face for a full year. How can we not draw? I really thought I could make that money. I want to say this too for the record. All the indie talent, non-WWE talent or WCW talent, guys that wrestled for me regular that was booked on that show, I didn't book any of them against each other. I booked every one of them against a name in the business to give them an opportunity to step in the ring with somebody that's been to the big show. And I told them all, months before the show, I gave them all 5 tickets. And I said, sell these 5 tickets at $10 a piece. Keep the $50. That's your pay for the night. If you don't sell your tickets, don't expect the envelope at the end of the night. Yes, that probably wasn't their job. It wasn't their job to sell tickets. I'm the promoter, it's my job. I admit that was a bad decision. I can't take that back. So at the end of the night, I was a little money short. There were 6 total. I pulled them all to the side. I said, guys, this is what I ran into. I told them about the sponsor, told them about the door money. I said, I can pay 3 of you guys what we agreed upon. 3 of you won't get paid. Or I can cut your pay in half, and all of you will get half of what we agreed upon. Grabbed me by the throat, jacked me against the wall. And his exact words was, effing promoters. I had tears running down my face. Man, it broke my heart to tell them guys that. I got him off of me and said, look, man, he could have jumped in his car and left like many other promoters and never even told us anything. At least he was man enough to tell us the truth. The show was absolutely phenomenal. The matches were great. No negative feedback from the fans. That gym seats 4,300 people. I think I had somewhere around 800, maybe, if that many.
Wow.
I don't know why. I can make all the excuses in the world. The bottom line is, I needed to step away for a while, and that was the Lord telling me, you need to take a break.
And by your own admission, you made a lot of mistakes, could have done things a lot better.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe didn't come through, and you told me before, I feel like I didn't come through on my end, and I didn't handle it correctly. Because from what the fans knew, everything was great,
right?
But they didn't know
it was all else. The behind the scenes stuff, man. You know, and I was the bad guy to everybody.
So, and I know you take that stuff to heart. You don't just let that roll off your back.
It weighed on me.
So you walked away and didn't even think about wrestling for what, 2-3 years? Didn't even think about it.
Well, a week after that show, I put everything I owned up for sale. And I ended up selling the ring, the entranceway, everything to a guy in Pennsylvania that started a promotion. I came back to North Carolina. I took the HVW trailer. I traded it for a Harley Davidson, and I started riding motorcycles. And wrestling was not a thought anymore.
And that's where this came from.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Me and three brothers, we started the Sons of the Savior Motorcycle Ministry. We just got out in the motorcycle community and started sharing our love for Christ. And man, we started with 4 guys and 2 motorcycles. Only 2 of us had only 2 of them. I didn't even have a motorcycle at the time when we started talking about doing this. Roy didn't have a motorcycle. Robert had just got a new bike because he wrecked the old one. So he gave Roy the wrecked bike, got it up and running so Roy could ride. And I took the HVW trailer and traded it in on my first Harley. And we all had bikes and we started our thing, man. And for 3 years, we started with 4 people. We grew it. Now we're 33 members strong and 2 other chapters. Wow. So we actually have 3 chapters. We have the mother chapter in Hendersonville. We have a chapter in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and a chapter in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Wow.
And we are working on a possible chapter in Texas and Kansas City.
So that, maybe it's not taking the place of the business, but maybe it's fulfilling and it feels like it's giving you a purpose. For anybody that's a creative person that would watch this, would understand when you're a creative person, you have to have an outlet.
Right.
There has to be an outlet.
Right.
Even if all you're doing is writing down a bunch of thoughts that turn into a book one day, you have to have an outlet. So this was your outlet, this was your way to,
for a while,
give back to the community.
Absolutely.
So anybody looking at this could say, well, why don't you just ride off into the sunset? Why go back to the nonsense and the drama? And again, by your own admission, why go back and face the demons of the past? What's the point of all this? So I'm asking you, why now? Why even get into all this again? Like, what is it about the business that you feel like, I got to do this now? Now's the time.
I'm a wrestling fan. On top of, I'm not really a wrestler anymore. I love performing. I'm a performer. Whether I'm in a band, I real quickly, I went back to the band thing. I actually fronted a band called Three Nails, a Christian rock band, after we started a motorcycle ministry. Did several pretty decent shows with those guys or whatever. I'm a performer. I love to be in front of a crowd. Now, I don't know, man. I feel like if you're a wrestling fan, you look at what's happening in the world of pro wrestling. You got WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, the NWA, Ring of Honor, Major League Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then you got feds like PWX or AML.
Sure.
But then you still got some of the smaller feds that are doing the National Guard Armory thing. And there's a lot of decent talent on
Some of
these
the
shows.
promoters, probably their heart's in the right place. They want to run a good show.
Right.
Maybe they don't have the budget. Maybe they don't have the right gear. Maybe they don't have the right setup. But, like the ambition is out there for some of these cats. It's just a matter of, putting your own stamp on it, pulling it together, that kind of thing.
You hit the nail on the head earlier. I think even though as much as I loved wrestling, being a performer in the ring, what I enjoyed most about it was sitting back and watching my vision come together as HVW. Man, we did some of the coolest locker room promos with ADD and, Big Tank and Bulldozer. One night we shot a promo in the locker room. I was laughing so hard I couldn't even film it. Had to get Ethan Case to work the camera because I couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny. And that kind of stuff is what I miss. I love my motorcycle ministry, and I'm not leaving it. I will continue to participate and do it. But there's a creative side of me that I need to get out there. And there's no better time than to get back in the wrestling business than right now with all this resurgence that's happening with the competition. I mean, there's wrestling on TV every night of the week now.
Yeah.
Every night of the week. Monday Night Raw. Tuesday night you got the NWA. Wednesday night you got your choice of NXT or AEW. Thursday night you got Impact on Pop or whatever they're doing. Friday night you got SmackDown. Saturday night you can catch the Ring of Honor. I mean, there's wrestling on TV 6 nights a week. It's time. It's time to bring HVW back.
So you got the fire back, obviously.
I've got the fire time.
I can see that a mile
I've got
away.
the fire time.
And we've been talking about this for, we tried to nail it down earlier, 3 months, maybe more. And you reached out to me a few years ago because you had it then. And you made the comment, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you're like, I want you on board, man. And I told my wife about it. She's like, well, is he serious? And I said, I don't know. And then we never talked about it again. I think you just had, the fires were getting stoked a little bit, but then it kind of fell off. So this time, I can't say I thought it was going to happen like that again, but I said, I told her, I said, he's wanting to do it again. And she goes, was it going to happen this time? I said, I don't know. I said, let's just wait and see.
You know what changed this time from the first time? Dylan Dollar invited me to come to a show and wrestle him one night. Or actually, I went and watched. And that night, when I went to the show to watch, I went into the locker room. And they asked me to be a part of a storyline and come back the next show and wrestle Dylan. At this point, I hadn't wrestled a match in 3 years. Not trained, anything. I did it. And the crowd was chanting, "You still got it. You still got it." Man, and that's when the spark, that's when the flint under the pile of wood was struck. So I wrestled a few more matches over time, not regular, months went by between the matches. And I'm not really looking to wrestle now. I miss that camaraderie, man, with the guys. It's I feel like I owe the wrestling business something. I do, because it gave to me a lot, and now it's time for me to give back to the wrestling business.
Owe the business something, or owe it to yourself?
It's not really for me, man.
No?
It's for the guys. It's for the guys that, and man, I'm not trying to like create heat or anything by saying this, but it's the guys that are getting treated the way I used to treat them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're there to set the ring up. You're there to help do stuff, and barely getting taken care of at the end of the night. And I have an opportunity for people to say, "Hey, he's different this time."
So you want to be different behind the scenes, and we've talked about heat that might still be out there. We don't have to name names, no point in that, but and I know for sure every conversation we've had, I don't think you've uttered one curse word toward anyone. And we said from day one, we're not out to hurt anybody. We're not out to take business from anybody. We're not out to take anybody's bookings away from anybody. We don't believe in running things that way. You don't, for sure. And I can tell you for sure, this is not the same guy. First of all, you've gone through such a transformation, because the guy I knew 20 years ago, even though he wanted to go further, and you did, you were all about you. And then you went from that to being, I want to give back. And then maybe you went back to, it's all about me and my ego, but now you're back to this.
Well,
I feel like an evolution has happened. Do you know what I mean?
Man, I got to give a lot of credit to one of my brothers, Roy Snelson. Roy's like the older brother I never had, president of the Sons of the Savior Motorcycle Ministry. Roy is not afraid to call me out, and he'll lay it on the line. And Roy has made me realize that we get nowhere through life serving ourselves. We have to serve everyone else. You know what I mean? And it's the Lord has blessed me, man. He's took care of me, and He's put some things in front of me. Not only do I want to run, I want to use HVW as a platform. My daughter went through a nasty case of bullying her sophomore year in high school. Physically, mentally, and sexually abused at school. And the school done absolutely nothing about it.
Wow.
Nothing. Dude, I had to pull her out of school, put her in a different school. I'm working very close with the assistant superintendent of Henderson County School Board to develop some type of anti-bullying campaign. And I want to use HVW to do that. I want to partner with the Sons of the Savior and do stuff in our community, or anybody else. If we can do anything to help somebody, it's not just about putting money in Gary's pocket anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be nice to make a little money, but that's not the main purpose. The main purpose now is to give back to a business that's gave to me for so many years.
So let's say that a fan watching this or anything else we put out as a company lives 2 hours away from where we're going to run that night. What's going to put them in their car to drive 2 hours away from their home and their couch and their TV and their Netflix to come see the show? What is it that we're going to give them that, what can we give them they can't get sitting out?
Well, it's not just HVW will not be just a wrestling show. HVW will be an experience.